from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, May 3rd to Saturday, May 10th. Okay, so last week, of course, we kicked off the week under the influence of that new moon in Taurus, which was very heavy, very weighted. We were very aware of our physical body, of our physical circumstances, and there was a lot of tension that definitely had us kind of pressurized. Now, for many of us, that is still kind of lingering. However, it's not as bad as it was when we were sitting in that dark phase of the moon. And of course, on the very last day of April, when we were supposed to be wrapping up the life lessons that April was meant to teach us, we had Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, re-enter into the Aries energy, giving us a flashback to the beginning of February, the ending of March. Of course, that's when she retrograded. We're still retracing our steps through her retrograde. But for the most part, we are feeling a little bit more empowered, a little bit more feisty, if you will. We're ready for the beginnings. We're ready to jump into new chapters. And we're definitely feeling those heart activations. That's probably been the biggest complaint of the Ascension symptom list for this past week was the pressure in our chest. And of course, we jumped months. We went from April to May. May, of course, bringing a brand new vibration, brand new frequency, brand new life lessons. And of course, we are just starting to see where that new path, where that new direction is actually going to take us. So this week, we are going to be kicking things off in a big way. We're jumping into the very first astro events of the month, starting with the first quarter moon popping off in Leo, the heart and soul of the zodiac. That is going to be taking place on May the 4th. So May the 4th be with you in a lot of different ways. That is only the first of two different astro shifts of that particular day. The second one, a little bit bigger, a little bit more profound, if you will. We have Pluto, the great transformer, going retrograde at 3 degrees of this Aquarius energy. He's going to be retrograde, taking us all the way into the fall, which means that there's going to be some major changes, some major transformations taking place not only on the greater, grander collective stage, but within our own lives. There's a lot of shadow work that needs to be done. And of course, we are going to waste no time moving through the thick of it once Pluto actually retrogrades. This week, we're going to be wrapping up the very last days of Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves in this Aries energy. And of course, he retrograded in this Aries energy, very similar on the path of Venus. She is currently retracing her steps in this Aries energy. Mercury, of course, just cleared his post-retrograde shadow period on April 26th. So he's actually in the free and clear right now, but he's going to be moving into Taurus energy here on the 10th. And that is definitely going to stabilize the mental plane. It is going to kind of put the tunnel vision goggles on, if you will, and help us really focus on what needs to be built, what we need to bring to life, what we need to create. That is definitely going to have a major shift on the Ascension symptoms that affect our head space and our throat space as well. That throat chakra just a poppin' over these last couple of weeks of having Mercury stand in this Aries energy with a brand new truth, with a lot of venom that we have to kind of get off of our tongue, get off of our chest, so to speak. Things aren't going to be as fiery, as spicy in that Taurus energy. We're going to only be speaking on things that are actually worthy of being spoken upon, but we have a lot of manifesting abilities with Mercury in Taurus, so we really have to be mindful of what we allow to leave our lips. So after we get this first quarter moon in Leo out of the way here on the 4th, we're immediately going to be starting to build towards the full moon intensity that will be popping off in Scorpio energy nonetheless on the 12th. And I think that's highly significant for us to put into perspective because, of course, Scorpio energy ruled over by Pluto, who will be retrograde at that particular point in time. Again, major pivot point. Are we going to stay? Are we going to go? Are we going to continue the old ego programming, or are we going to empower ourselves and flip the script and rise above that old version of self. There's definitely going to be a breakdown, breakthrough energy with that full moon in Scorpio. You can't get any more intense than that Scorpio energy. And so, of course, we're going to have a lot of shadow work pop off in the first couple of days of both Pluto's retrograde and the intensity building towards that Scorpio full moon. Now, a special mention that I thought was a very interesting thing that I observed when mapping out this week's astrology. This is the first week in a very long time, like legit went back in my information in all of my data sheets. And I can't tell you the last time that we didn't have any moon days. There is not one moon day popping off this week. Now, what does that mean? Well, a moon day is when all of the aspects of that day involve the moon. And that kind of indicates that we are going through a deep emotional realignment and redefinement and basically recalibration. And that's what we've been doing for the better part of the last couple of months, specifically through eclipse and retrograde season. So this to me kind of indicates that we've done all of the, let's call it inner emotional processing that we can do for this particular stage of our lives, of our evolution, of our ascension process. And now, slowly but surely, we are going to see more, let's call it actions and opportunities actually materialize in our outer realm here this week. And so having no moon days doesn't mean that we're not going to have emotions. It just means that we're not being put on pause the way that we've been put on pause for pretty much this whole entirety of 2025 thus far. So I thought that was an interesting point to bring up. It kind of means that there is a slow, steady momentum building, especially in our external realm. And this is the progress that we have been waiting for. So before I jump into all of the ascension symptoms that we can expect from the week ahead, just got a couple of things on my list that I would like to talk about. First of all, just want to start off with the thank yous. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for dropping emojis in the comment section below. Huge shout out to my YouTubers that are doubled down, staying on YouTube, still showing the love and support, even on those preview shorts that I've been posting throughout the week. I know y'all want me to bring back the dailies. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. That is permanently over on my Patreon. And I thank each and every single one of you that has made the jump over to Patreon and decided to support my work over there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But YouTube allowed me to extend my shorts to a 3-minute preview, which means that y'all are getting 3 minutes longer than normal. And you know what? We're going to have to take that as a win. So I thank those of you that continue to show the love and support here on YouTube, that continue to show up on Friday night date nights for our little chat session here. Thank you so much for that. But again, really, really want to thank those of you that have jumped over to Patreon and showed me the love and support over there. Cannot appreciate you any more than I do. So thank you so much for doing that. It's a beautiful time to jump over to Patreon, even as a free subscriber, or if you want to try that free trial subscription period, because of course, we're in a brand new month. And with that, there is the May energy overview. If you haven't taken a listen to that, you can jump over, take a listen. It is available pay-per-view as well. Again, there's May energy guides for your downloading pleasure. They're written specifically for your zodiac sign to help you navigate the energies coming at you here in the month. And if you haven't downloaded your new moon in Taurus manifesting guide as of yet, I'm going to recommend you do so, because we're in the second stage of manifesting in this lunar cycle as we approach this first quarter moon in Leo energy. Of course, that's the heart and soul, right? We are building in our boldness, our bravery, our courage to take action, to make moves, and to choose to actually decide on what that move actually needs to be. And so Taurus energy, as you know, is manifesting energy. It is our ability to bring a goal, a vision, a dream in our inner realm into fruition, materialize it here in the physical realm. So this is not the lunar cycle to be sleeping on. I would definitely invite you to get that manifesting guide in front of you. The Ascension guides that I write weekly for my VIPs over on Patreon, that is only going to be available on Patreon from here on out. You can download it as a pay-per-view if you're not a subscriber over there, but I'm going to start kind of I'm going to say minimizing the double action that I have to do, meaning usually I'm putting everything on my website and I'm putting everything on Patreon and kind of giving people the option on where it is that they're downloading these resources from. Probably going to stop doing that on my website. There hasn't been nearly as much engagement and activity on my website as there now is on Patreon. So if you are somebody that was used to downloading those Ascension guides for the week ahead from my website, you will now find that over on Patreon. And again, you do not need to become a subscriber in order to get that guide. You can access that on a pay-per-view type of system. What I would also want to say is I gave a little bit of a preview for my book that I have been writing, my first of many, I should say. I was able to kind of announce that book coming out here yesterday, and the pre-orders are going to open up on May 5th, and they are going to be exclusive to my Patreon VIPs to begin with. I will eventually put that on my website for other people to access as well, but I'm just starting with a very small type of group in order, because this is a very nerve-wracking thing. This is like 20 years in the making. I did not want to have to write these books, but it is part of my soul contract, and lo and behold, I'm finally at the point where I'm bringing these words into materialization and compiling them in books that I will be releasing. We're here. It's taken me 20 years to do it, but we're here. Kind of a big deal for me. My nerves are kind of shot about it. There's still a lot of hurdles that I have to kind of jump over and jump through in order to get the paperback versions in my hand. But I am super, super, super grateful for my Patreon community that is open and ready to kind of, sticking with me going through this new process. And so if you're interested in getting your hands on my book as it gets released, and probably some discounts being thrown in there as well, another reason to jump over to Patreon. The other thing that I will mention, and then we will jump into the Ascension symptoms for this week, is that my booking calendar for May and June is now available. If you are interested with a one-on-one session with me, definitely snag your spot. I am limiting the amount of one-on-one sessions that I'm doing. I am pulling away from one-on-one sessions to pour my time and energy into other things. So again, there's only 8 spots. And I did have some bookings over the course of last night and today from my VIPs that got first dibs. There was 8 spots originally from now until July. And so if you have a birthday coming up, you want a solar return or a year ahead reading, definitely reserve that spot. If you are just wanting a check-in on where it is that you're at with the astrology in your chart and what you got coming at you over the next couple of months, dive into that. Again, you can jump over to my website, go into my services, see all the services that I offer, and snag your spot if that is something that appeals to you. Okay, with all of that being said, let's get to the good stuff. The Ascension symptoms for this week are going to be very interesting just because we have a lot of transitional energies taking place. So again, there's a heaviness and a weight that we have been experiencing. We are in Taurus season. We will continue to be in Taurus season because it's a fixed earth sign. It's very much about being present, the embodiment of the, energy body with the physical flesh body, the realization of the changes that have taken place in our mind space and our heart space, that now we have to walk the walk and talk the talk. There is a presence, whether it be comfortable or uncomfortable, that we are all experiencing here in this Taurus energy, because again, the discomfort shows us what needs to change. The comfort shows us where it is that we can grow and expand on that safety, security, and comfortability that we are experiencing. So with this Taurus energy, things are kind of low, they're kind of slow, they're going at a steady pace. It kind of feels good, especially after the eclipse and retrograde craziness and chaos, for us to feel a little bit more stabilized, a little bit more safe and secure. But we're still going through rapid changes, and rapid changes do not feel good. And so we just have to kind of understand that we're still going nowhere's fast. Again, our inner realm is like very active, very much lit up, very much going through a change and a transformation. The changes, the transformations that have taken place in our physical realm, although they may be, let's call them small, slow, steady, are actually very profound in the impact that it is going to have on us for the months/years to come as well. And so, there's definitely a rapid progression taking place more so in our energy body than in our physical body, but those two are going to overlap. They are going to align. We are going to start seeing some serious changes and transformations manifest in the physical realm that mirror back to us the changes and transformations that have already taken place in our inner realm. Everything happens in our inner realm before it ever gets manifested in the external realm. So that is a little bit of a mirror back to us to let us know that the energy that we've been moving, the changes, the transformations of our headspace, of our heart space, of our worth, of our values, that is working. That is being rewarded. That is being mirrored back to us by the small little changes and adjustments in our physical realm. The big thing in Taurus season is that, again, our physical energy levels aren't the best. Again, we're talking about a fixed earth sign, so it's like a stable energy, but it's kind of still sloth mode. Not to say that we don't have power or force behind whatever it is that we're pouring our time, energy, and attention into. But you have to think that, the bull represents Taurus energy, and the bull digs in its hoofs, digs in its feet. It doesn't want to move. It doesn't want to budge. It's in defense mode. Now, that being said, a bull can wreck a china shop pretty effing quick if you're not careful. So we do have to kind of, again, gauge our energy, gauge mostly our frustrations. The Taurus energy, there's a stubbornness there. So again, resistant to change being a fixed sign. However, when your back is pushed up against a wall, we don't mind making a change. We don't mind exerting energy. And that, if we're not careful, is when we could wreck the place. And we definitely don't want to be doing that. But we're kind of in this holding position, if you will. And we have our head down and we're huffing and puffing and just trying to hold the line, so to speak. But there's a lot of heaviness and weight that becomes very apparent in this Taurus energy, and a lot of frustrations arise because, again, there is this want, need, and desire to make a lot more progress than we're currently making, because this is about, again, finding our footing, finding our bearings before we see all of these external changes start popping off. I would say that the food cravings are likely going to continue. Again, in Taurus season, we really enjoy the creature comforts, and food is definitely on that list. We enjoy feeling comfortable, but again, part of this Taurus process is to be so present, to be so aware in this present moment, to be illuminated on where it is that there is no comfort in certain areas of our life. This is about realizing where it is that we need to feel safe and secure in our materialistic realm and in our emotional realm before we go ahead and start switching things up at an accelerated rate that is going to make us feel crazy and chaotic. Now, newsflash, that's coming at us in Gemini season, which is just around the corner. But for right now, this is time for us to just kind of get a grip on where it is that we're at, how it is that we got here, where it is that we want to go from here, and the strong, stable, slow, calculated steps needed in order for us to get from point A to point B. So those food cravings are probably definitely going to still be around. It feels like we can't really quench those cravings, but that's not going to stop us from stuffing our face full of snacks that we probably don't need, that we probably are going to be complaining about the consequences about in the months to come. However, if you are kind of packing on the weight, don't worry about that. It's going to come off pretty quick here once we enter into Gemini season. But again, this is about discipline. This is about willpower. This is about understanding, that you can't take anything to a certain extreme, or there's going to be negative consequences about that. Now, one thing that I think we are going to all have to experience here this week is the digestive issues. Now, it could be because we're stuffing our face full of, food that we definitely don't need. We want it. We don't really need it. But most of the digestive issues are going to come because we have the moon moving into Virgo energy right after we have this first quarter moon pop off in Leo. And when the moon is in Virgo energy, yeah, we're in fixing, healing, repairing mode, but it also has a huge impact on our digestive system. There's a lot of worry that comes up, a lot of nervousness, a lot of anxiety that comes up in that Virgo energy. Not to mention, we are going to have a conjunction with the South Node in Virgo energy, which means that we're having a opposition to the North Node in Pisces, which is going to bring up a lot of shadow work. A lot of shadow work where perfection is concerned, where analyzing, self-judgment, self-criticism is concerned. Again, that South Node in Virgo is what we've already perfected, what we need to move away from. And the Virgo energy has a lot of perfection control issues that we're going to have to dabble into. And specifically now that Pluto is going to be retrograde as that happens, we are definitely going to be peeling back the layers of our subconscious mind and therefore our shadow programming. And we're going to have a huge opportunity to fix, heal, and repair the parts of self that feel comfortable beating ourselves up, breaking ourselves down. The parts of self that, just picks everything apart, because that's what Virgo energy does. It looks at the minute details. It puts boundaries and boxes around everything. And we love to make to-do lists, and we love to, show up and be of work and service to other people while our own mental health and our own physical health is declining. And so this is about the balancing act needed. And again, with that North Node in Pisces, that's the path that we need to get on. And the path that we need to get on is surrendering to all of the, let's call it headspace bullshit that the moon in Virgo kind of puts us in. And that has a major impact on our digestive system. Just think of all the nerve endings that are alive and well in your digestive system. And when you're mentally focused on criticizing or beating yourself up and breaking yourself down, or not feeling good enough, or not feeling like you're doing things to the level of perfection that you require of yourself or that other people may require of you, it's a lot of head pressure. It's a lot of analyzing. That's what the Virgo energy is. And so our stomach, typically speaking, gets tied into a knot. And when we do get tied into a knot, typically speaking, we start holding on to shit, literally and figuratively speaking. When I say to you that many of us will have cramps and digestive issues and maybe constipation, that is all going to come to a major breakthrough blowout under the full moon in Scorpio. That is when release happens. And so this week, we're definitely going to feel that Taurus season rigidity in our physical form. We're going to feel that overactive anxiety in our gut due to the majority of the week having that moon in Virgo energy. And then building towards that full moon where shit literally has to hit the fan in order for us to let it go. Scorpio energy is notorious for, again, being a fixed water sign, holding on to emotions, holding on to the bad part of emotions, the grudges, the betrayals, the hurts, the pains, the traumas. All of that has to come up for acknowledgement before we can release it. And all of that is taking place here this week, especially with Pluto retrograding. There's going to be a major focus on the not so fun parts of our mental plane, of our emotions, of our experiences, because we have to turn that pain into power. We have to turn that darkness into light. We have to empower ourselves instead of beat ourselves up. We have to have a major shift in the way that we see ourselves, and therefore the way that we see ourselves as a part of the world around us. And that is going to have a major impact on our gut. It's not going to feel good. Now, that gut pressure, that gut dysfunction is also going to play into the major heart activations that we are scheduled to have this week. I know that we've had major heart activations last week as well. A lot of that is Venus in that Aries energy now. Like, she is the dark feminine energy rising. She's not messing around. We've had a major pivot point in our heart space. We've had a major, I'm going to say, upgrade in our self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth, if you will, what we feel deserving of actually pursuing now. We have new passions, new desires. And again, we're just continuing to retrace our steps until that 10th degree of Aries that Venus retrograded at just a couple of months ago. We need to get there before we're in the free and clear of kind of pursuing new things. And so she is like warrior type of energy. There is a major fire activation in our heart space. We are definitely feeling that pressure, that congestion in our heart space. And if our guts are all upset, that pressure is just going to be exasperated and over exaggerated in our chest space as well. And so these heart activations this week, yeah, it's because Venus is still continuing her time in this Aries energy, but we also start the week off with the moon in her rulership in that Cancer energy before we shift into that Leo energy that, of course, is going to be bringing us our first quarter moon. That first quarter moon is a heart activation, so this is going to affect the chest space as well. And, and then we move into the moon in Virgo after that, and that creates the digestive dysfunction that is going to intensify the heart activations that we're already going to be in. And so those heart activations are no joke. Sometimes it can feel like there's an elephant sitting on your chest. Sometimes it feels like it's hard to breathe. Sometimes it feels like acid reflux or gas bubbles. Sometimes it feels like a rapid heartbeat or a irregular heartbeat. There's all kinds of different ways that this can manifest. Either way, it's just going to feel like we're limited in our ability to breathe deeply. So again, it's very important to be leaning into your breath work practice. Breath is the only thing that we actually have power and control over here in this realm. And when you are kind of focused on your breath work, suddenly all of the other issues that your mental plane wants you to focus on just kind of disappear. We become very present, very aware of our physical form. We understand that we can control the energies in our body through our breath. And sometimes when we have, huge pressure on our heart space and in our chest area, and it feels like we can't breathe, that puts us in a shallow breathing type of pattern, and that activates the flight or fight type of energy and adrenaline within you. This is why it's so important to be aware of how your body is functioning and to step in and kind of reset the program and the pattern when it's not functioning in your favor. So we want to have slow, deep breaths. We want to just really expand our chest space, even if it's uncomfortable to do so, because that's how we're going to break up the energy blockages that are creating these ascension symptoms. And again, I'm going to get used to it. I'm going to be plugging the new book from here on out. This is what this Ascension Manual was written upon, built upon. This is why I wrote this book and why I'm releasing this book prior to the other books that I have in the works, because this is what many of us are focused on right now, is trying to get through the run of the day without these ascension symptoms debilitating us and preventing us from functioning in this reality that we all have to continue to be a part of. So I am hoping that, when we talk about the ascension symptoms here in this Ascension Forecast, and I kind of explain where all the dots connect and why certain things are happening, I hope that that is intriguing enough for you to want to dive a little bit deeper into this topic, into this theme, and hopefully, be as excited as I know that my Patreon community is for me, even though I'm over here like anxiety puking about the release of this book. I have a lot of love, a lot of support, and I'm really hoping that the release of this Ascension Manual is going to help calm the nerves of the collective and help them understand the energy body, the light body, and why this is happening to us and what we can do about it. Because believe it or not, awakening is not supposed to hurt this bad. It is not supposed to be this painful. It is just the matrix and the construct of this matrix and the lack of information and education about our energetic body that has us in this situation of torture, of pain, of suffering, of debilitating symptoms that are preventing us from this human experience. And so, it never feels fun to be in this panic mode. It never feels fun to feel like there's an elephant on your chest. It never feels fun like you're breathing through a straw. But again, that brings attention to some of the emotional weight that you're carrying in your heart space and on your chest space. And hopefully that will trigger and activate you to unpack that emotion. And when you bring attention and awareness to it, the energy shifts. And then the symptoms dissipate and the intensity kind of, gets turned down a little bit. And that is us being alchemists. That is us turning that pain into power. That is us doing energy work. And so that is going to be a major, major focus point in, our solar plexus here this week, our heart chakra as well. We definitely have a lot of fine tuning to do in those particular chakra areas, those energy centers. And that's why we're going to be feeling the discomfort, the pressure in our chest space. So let's talk about the throat for a second. Many of us have been over the last couple of weeks experiencing a lot of different symptoms where the throat is concerned, because that throat is about expression. When we talk about expression, yeah, you can bring Mercury into it. Mercury's had a lot to say, a lot of spice, a lot of fire on his tongue, being in that Aries energy, a new truth that we want to release, a lot to get off of our chest, so to speak. But many of us haven't really been prepared to have those conversations. And so we're holding a lot of that energy back, those words back. We're biting our tongue, we're biting our lips in a lot of different ways. When you do that, you contain the fire in your mouth. And, that has had an impact on our throat chakra, whether maybe I have one beautiful person that lost their voice entirely, laryngitis, no speaking for them. I have other people that have this itchiness in the back of their throat that just won't go away. I have other clients that have sore throat, like for the life of them, cannot get rid of this sore throat. It can manifest in all kinds of different ways. And this is why, even though we're going through all of this, together, collectively speaking, the ascension journey is a very personal and very individualized type of experience. And so although we can, talk about these general ascension symptoms and how they may or may not impact you, realistically speaking, it comes down to the energy work that you've done within yourself. It comes into the level of awareness, a level of consciousness that you're operating in within yourself on how some of these energies actually manifest. But I'm going to say that it feels tighter this week. Now, it's hard for me to explain. I'm going to try and do the best that I can here. There's going to be a tightness in our chest space. Like, how I said, the elephant is sitting on our chest and it feels very hard for us to take in a deep breath. And, it just feels like it's hard to breathe. Well, it also feels like we're breathing through a straw. And it feels like there is this tension, this tightness, this pressure around our throat. And a lot of this is because, again, our throat chakra is going through an upgrade. Again, a lot of us are holding on to the words that essentially we need to get out of our body and off of our chest. But where Mercury specifically is shifting out of Aries and into Taurus this week, there's also going to be a shift, an adjustment, if you will. Still going to be a little bit of a problematic area in the throat space, just going to change the way that it's manifested its symptoms. So, maybe if you've been suffering with a sore throat, maybe you're going to the itchiness now. Or if you've been in the itchy part, maybe it's just going to feel like you can't breathe as clearly, like somebody's got a, their hand around your windpipe, so to speak. It's just going to change. Now, that being said, there's going to be a major palpable shift when we shift into that Taurus energy. And again, that's not happening until the end of the week. It's happening on May 10th. We move out of the fiery, spicy, aggressive, assertive, let me use my tongue as a weapon type of vibe with Mercury in that Aries energy to a more stabilized, only speak on it if it's worth speaking about, only speak. Like you realize with Mercury and Taurus energy how much weight your words actually have. And again, Taurus energy is about manifesting. So whatever it is that you're speaking on is what you are creating. So, if you have a negative ass narrative in your head and you talk to yourself in a negative way, and then you open your mouth and you speak nothing but positivity in other people's lives, well, and you wonder why your life is shit. Start speaking as favorably about yourself and towards your own life as you do other people, and watch your world change. But even letting the words out, they have weight. It's almost like what you speak is what you create with that Mercury and Taurus energy. And that's going to have a major impact, I would say, on the way that our throat actually feels. There's still some clearing going on there. So maybe, again, you have this hoarseness, the smelly cat, sexy vibe of Phoebe from Friends, like I described last week. Maybe it is just a little bit of a constant throat clearing, like you got something stuck in your throat and you can't get it out. Either way, there is going to be a shift, but we're still going to see a major ascension, I'm going to call it cluster F of energies in our throat space, because there's still a lot of emotion to unpack as far as the truth that we need to be speaking, what we need to be saying, what we need to get off of our chest. The overall state of agitation and irritability this week, I think, is going to be increasing for a couple of reasons. Like, restlessness doesn't feel good. It's our light body, our energy body, knowing what awaits us, even though we consciously don't know in our physical form. Our energy body, our soul self, knows a lot more than we ever will. And there's this excitement brewing. There is this anticipation brewing, but we, in our physical realm and our conscious realm, couldn't for the life put the finger on what is actually creating this agitated state. Now, agitation isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can manifest out of positive energies. For example, when you are super hyped up, super excited about something, that is a lot of energy to contain. When you have to kind of have patience, which again, most of us weren't born with, and none of us can seem to locate on Amazon or how to order that online. When you have to have patience and the energy bouncing around in you is stronger than the level of patience in which you have, that can go south real quick. That restlessness, those ants in your pants, it gets to be a little bit much. Even more than that, it's just, we can't sit still. We know that we are about to enter into an action point, an action chapter, but it's not here yet. So we don't know what to do with ourselves. We're trying to keep ourselves busy. We're trying to keep ourselves entertained. But in the back of our mind, whatever it is that we are doing to channel this energy into in our materialistic realm, it's just not cutting it. The excitement or the anticipation or the nervousness or the anxiety or the determination, whatever fuel is currently lighting your inner fire can switch on a dime. And that restlessness is going to manifest this week specifically in restless leg syndrome. And that is a horrible thing. And it's going to feel like you want to crawl out of your own damn skin. And restless leg syndrome is I'm going to call it metaphysical symptom or consequence of your energy body knowing the steps, the moves that need to be made without the physical opportunity to actually do it. And so again, our inner realm is revved up. Our inner realm knows that we are anticipating major moves, major changes, major transformations in our external realm. But the green light go ahead in the material realm hasn't really been given as of yet. And so here our soul self is trying to contain this energy that essentially we want to use as fuel in our outer realm to make shit happen, to, see some progress. But we're not gifted with the opportunity to channel that energy, to funnel that energy into the physical realm as of yet. So it's got nowheres to go. And that doesn't feel good, especially the restless leg syndrome. Like, that is the most annoying sensation that you could probably have in this physical body. Although I shouldn't say that, because the list of discomfort, the list of just not so nice, fun sensations being a human is very, very long. But, again, our engine essentially is revving, but the tires aren't spinning. And so we're just kind of, we're creating smoke, we're creating anxiety, we're creating restlessness. And that restless leg syndrome, let's just talk about the legs for a second. We hold fear in our kneecaps. We hold the tension of not knowing the next step forward in our ankles. We hold the nervousness, the insecurity, the inability to see the proper logical, practical path moving on and moving forward. We hold that in our thighs. And so from our hips down, not to mention Pluto retrogrades, which is the root chakra, because that's our ego programming, that's our survival programming that gets kind of triggered and activated. From the waist down, we're holding on to a lot of energy that we can't do much with. And we're in Taurus season. So again, any steps, any moves that we're making, they're just one baby step at a time. And we have enough energy in us to run a marathon right now that we have to hold in our physical body and be okay with. Why do we have to be okay with it? Because we're in Taurus season. This is about embodiment. This is about being present in your physical body, regardless of how comfortable or uncomfortable you may be. This is about understanding that you need to be in your physical body even when you're uncomfortable and not disassociate. That is embodiment. That is us acting as a, let's call it, complete version, whole version of self, by integrating the light body with the physical body and not running away from ourselves and trying to numb it when things get uncomfortable. So again, tough love life lessons, left, right, and center. Now this restless leg syndrome, this ants in our pants, this restlessness, this agitation that is just vibrating from the inside out, this is going to disrupt our sleep. Now, many of us have been sleeping a lot deeper, a lot longer, a lot more restful in Taurus season. Thank goodness for that. It is a fixed earth sign. So again, we need rest, we need recovery, especially where our physical body is concerned. But, having restless legs or having this agitated state and having Pluto retrograde and bring up some dark topics and themes in our unconscious realm of the dream landscape, it is definitely going to kind of, flip the script here. It is definitely going to bring a different mood, different attitude, different vibe. And a lot of us are going to experience not only tossing and turning, not only nightmare-ish dream content, but huge amounts of sweating. And that sweating is a purge energy. It's a purge activity. What is purging? Purging is allowing the physical body system to do what it needs to do to release, in this case, fluid that is holding on to the energetic memories of the pain and trauma that is stuck in our cellular memory. Information, the information highway, runs in both our electrical system and in our blood system. And we are essentially just cucumbers with emotions. We are majority water, and information, electricity gets conducted through water. And so when we're going through a deep purge, whether we're conscious of it or not, there is this releasing of fluids, releasing of emotion, releasing of energy. And many of us are going to be doing that particular purge in our sleep state. So just prepare for the sweaty ass cocoon that we will be entering into this week with our sleep state. Okay, so this week we are also going to find it very hard to stay centered. Now, one of the major tough love life lessons in Taurus season is to be grounded, is to anchor into the present moment, is to be centered. Now, that center space, if you look at your physical body, if you look at your energetic body, that center space is your heart chakra. And that heart chakra is what connects the lower chakra system of the ego programming to the higher chakra system of the light body. And if that heart chakra is not open and functioning well and in rhythm with the rest of the chakras, then we're going to have a disconnection, a disassociation. Either the upper chakras are still active, meaning you're still, doing the dream work, the vision work, the intuitive work, but you're disconnected from the physical body. If you are disconnected from the physical body, you are not present. You are not having the human experience. Many people in this spiritual path have totally disassociated from the human form. Most people have totally disassociated from this human experience, wanting to live in this la-la land of delusion and spirituality and aliens and God and all of this stuff. If you do not embody it, if you do not put it into practice, if you do not walk the walk and talk the talk, you just live in your headspace about the potentialities, you are not embodying anything. You are not even acting as a human. This whole point of Taurus season is to ground your upper chakras, the spiritual part of you, your energetic light body, with the physical form. Double down on being a human. Double down on the discomfort. Double down on bringing it into your heart space, good, bad, or ugly. We have to sit in it. We have to stop running from ourselves. This is the major tough love life lesson. That being said, finding your center, finding your truth, finding your balance point, finding your power, that is what this is all about. And not swaying out of it when shit gets hard in the exterior realm. Be a tree. Trees are very tall. They have many branches, many parts of self. They have very strong, very deep roots that are anchored into the ground. Storms come and teach the trees how to bend without snapping and destroying themselves. The emotional and mental storms of your external realm happen in order for you to learn how to bend and sway without snapping yourself into two. Be a tree. Be a tree and sway amongst the winds blowing against you. Double down, anchor those roots in, get yourself, get those branches just out there swaying to kind of balance that whole trunk system out. Be a freaking tree. Okay, we can learn a lot from nature. And technically speaking, if we got back to the laws of nature, we wouldn't be in this human shit show collective. Different topic for a different day. With this energy here this week, it is going to trigger and activate two different kind of systems within us. We have an endocrine system, which regulates the chemicals and hormones that get released in our physical body in order to control, our heart rate, our breathing patterns, our digestive system, whatever the case may be. We also have a lymphatic system that is responsible for the toxic drainage of, the foods that we eat, the environmental, not so nice junk that we bring into our physical bodies. We got to get it out. And so this week, there is going to be a trigger and activation to our endocrine system, which means that hormones are going to be fluctuating, which means that mood swings are likely probable. But even more than that, our actual physical body, the state of our oils, the state of our skin, the state of our hair, all going through a little bit of an adjustment period. Now, let's also talk about the sexual desire, the sexual, passions that we have, because that is all interconnected as well. There is going to be this fluctuation where, because there are so many heart activations, because we have this dark feminine energy rising, because we do have a new want, need, and desire to connect and share ourselves in different ways with different people in order to, again, create a realm and reality that not only looks good, not only feels good, that is more in alignment with our higher self. There's going to be a wave of energy that comes in and totally destabilizes our endocrine system. And so, again, if you don't know a whole lot about the bodily systems, definitely either jump into that research on your own. The books that I do have coming out are going to break down the physical body system, the light body system, how they interact, how they intertwine, what we need to do to get them in alignment and operate as a whole being. That's what the whole purpose of all the books that I'm currently writing. That's what we're meant to explore here. But to give you the short version of it, we are nothing but hormones and chemicals that need to be released at certain times in order to make certain things work in our body. And when one system is off, all the systems are off. And because we're going through an adjustment period, because we have this restlessness, because we have these heart activations, because we have this disruption in our digestive system, because the hormones are going to be all over the place, not only does that have an impact on our mental health and our emotional health, but our physical body is changing as well. We have just spent the majority of 2025 expanding, growing, evolving our energetic light body. We just shoved this light body back into the physical form, not last week, but the week before. And now we're making the adjustments to the physical body in order to house the amount of energy that the light body is now operating at, which means that we have to go through physical discomfort, physical adjustments, physical awkwardness in order to have those systems improve, to have them evolve, and then eventually stabilize. So pay attention. If you normally are on the side of having oily skin or oily hair, you may find yourself dried out, or vice versa. You may find a shift in your eyesight because, again, the endocrine system and the lymphatic system trying to get the junk and the gunk out of our bodies. There's a lot of clogged up residue. We're going to see that clogged up energetic residue manifest in, face breakouts, the face, the skin, the largest organ. When we have, skin eruptions, skin rashes, pimples, cysts, all of those things, that is a cluster of, let's call it organic material in the physical form, but it is a cluster of energetic residue from the pain and the trauma that we are trying to get out of our bodies. And so it affects the vision, it affects our smell. Everything affects the central nervous system. The central nervous system is highly dependent on the sensory system in order to bring in the information, the data from the external realm in order for us to function in our materialistic realm each and every single day. This is going through a major adjustment. This is refinement, reassessing. This is like reanalyzing, like, okay, this has changed. Now I have to adapt to that. Okay, this is changing. Now I have to try this. We're in the dress rehearsal year. We're in experimentation phase. Now, granted, all of this is going to be related to the physical form and the discomfort that we're feeling in the physical form because we're in Taurus season. We're going to have a totally different area to have the energy be focused upon when we move into Gemini season. That is a totally different vibe. Again, I welcome you, if you haven't already, take a listen to the May energy overview, because that's going to kind of give you the tone that we are going to see a major dramatic shift in the minute that we shift out of this Taurus energy and we start shifting into that mutable air energy of Gemini. Mutability in a mutable season means that's time for change. That's time for adjustments. That's time for improvement. Right now, we're in a fixed season, which means that this is about doubling down, stabilizing what has already changed, stabilizing in what is tried, tested, true, tradition, and comfort, identifying what is working and what is not, so that we can start experimenting with those changes when we move into Gemini season and we already have a list of things that, guess what, aren't working so well. So our physical body, our physical health is definitely on spotlight this week because of Taurus season, but also because we're really given some triggers and activations in order to learn how to stay in the physical body, regardless of how uncomfortable we may feel or actually be. This is a time, and again, we still have some planets in Pisces season. The North Node is in Pisces for the foreseeable future. So the want, need, and desire to run away, the want, need, and desire to disassociate, the want, need, and desire to numb, the want, need, and desire to check out 100% from this human experience is very high. But that is not the name of the game. That is, that is getting yourself disqualified from this particular round of humanism. And that's everything that we need to avoid doing. We need to be okay uncomfortably. We need to be 100% strong in the discomfort. That's what this particular life lesson is all about. Now, let me just say that this isn't all about suffering. This isn't all about pain. This isn't all about doom and gloom. There's some beautiful, beautiful things happening. There are very few, very small, beautiful things happening, but those are the moments that you have to have the attitude of gratitude. That is the moment that you have to take a energetic, mental, emotional snapshot of the way that you feel in the presence of those things and add that to your gratitude list, because those are the tools in your toolbox, the resources that you need to come back to when shit hits the fan and shit gets hard, to remind you that life is good, that there is beautiful things, that there are beautiful people, that there's lots to look forward to, and that the pain and the discomfort and the doom and gloom, all of that is just happening now because we are awakening to the light body that nobody taught us about. So we're raw dog in life right now, and that's never fun. And it's never fun to kind of be put in this pain and struggle period that you don't know is ever going to end. That definitely kind of grinds on your faith a little bit. It grinds on your strength a little bit. And that is why, these Ascension forecasts every week, why the content that I put out each and every single day in my Patreon community and these books that I'm writing, this is why I'm doing all of it, because it doesn't need to be this hard. It doesn't need to be this uncomfortable. It doesn't need to be this much of a struggle. It doesn't have to be. We just haven't been educated enough on these particular topics to do anything different other than to wake up and just bear the weight, bear the discomfort, bear the pain of this particular evolution of our consciousness. So guys, that is all that I have on my list of things to talk about for this week coming at us. I feel like the heart activations are definitely going to be probably the main focus, and the shadow work is definitely going to play at people as well. Again, just a reminder that most of the time when a major heavy hitting planet such as Pluto shifts from a direct position to a retrograde position, it is normally the week prior to and the week after of that particular energy shift that we feel the energy the most. That gives us the hints and clues of what we need to be working on, and in this case, up until the fall. Again, if you're interested in doing a little bit more of a deep dive on what Pluto's retrograde is all about, you can find a little bit more information and details both in the May energy guide, and of course, there is a whole astro forecast devoted to this particular astro event over on my Patreon as well. I thank you so much for showing up for not only me, but for yourself. I thank you so much for being a part of it, for aligning here in this community, for reminding yourself and reminding other people that guess what, we're not alone. We're all going through it and we're all going through it together. I thank you so much for tuning in. I send you so much love and we'll talk to you soon.